All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside In Tennis Podcast. Mitch Michals here, all part of the Believe Network. Tons of great content on there, as well as this tennis show that's available on all your podcast platforms. We are here, days away from the start of Roland Garros. I think we're within about 48 hours or so. And the draw is out. Everybody's ready to go, including my guest on the show, friend of the program, a tennis player in her day, top 40 player, Florida Gator Hall of Famer, and one of the smoothest voices in the broadcasting world now, Jill Craybas. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Mitch. It's great to see you again. It's been too long, actually, but it's nice to be part of the show again. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it has. So much has happened in our time apart, especially just the changing developments in the tennis world, and some new faces emerge, which they do. But there's nothing really like the lead up to a major. And you've been on the other side of it. You've been on the playing side, and where there's probably more anxiety. But as a fan, as a broadcaster, there's something special about those days before. We know what the matchups are now. You can't really beat it.
Yes, there's definitely a buzz. And even as I've been reading the articles in the lead up to Roland Garros, it's been fun to see, which of the players arrive early, which one are still playing tournaments and will come a little bit later. It literally just came out a few moments ago, which matches are going to play on Sunday and on Monday. It's very exciting. This is actually the first year I've been back to Roland Garros since the last year I played.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a little bit surreal, like driving from the airport and coming back, and I'm actually staying at one of the hotels I stayed at when I played, so it's all a little surreal, but yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
It's got to be nostalgic, but also maybe, it's not like PTSD, but maybe some rituals creep back into your head. It's been removed since you played, but are things and routines maybe kind of creeping back into your head subconsciously?
Yes, definitely. Even I remembered the streets and I was like, oh, okay, I'll go to that supermarket. That's what I used to go to every single time, or the bakery or whatever. But I think I feel like the nervousness that the players would probably be feeling a little bit in the lead up, because already in my head I was excited for start tomorrow, but I was like, okay, we have one more day and I'm going to go on site and get a feel, because everything has changed since I've been here. And so it's going to be really exciting.
I did have one that you made me think of, and I just, like a general overview. You've known enough players, obviously shared a locker room with a lot. Where do you put yourself on the kind of ritual, routine, superstition? Are you very, ritual, have to do the same thing, or were you more free flowing in general?
I think I used to be, in the beginning of my career, more like strict as far as superstitions, but I let those go pretty quickly. And I think you tend to. I think it was more, not so much rituals off court. It was more on court, as far as what I did on court, like stupid little things that don't mean anything, but in between points, I didn't step on the line. I bounced the ball the same number of times before the first serve and the second serve, and so just things like that. But I got more relaxed as the more years that I played.
Well, that definitely makes sense. A little age creeps in, and you start to handle things a little differently. But one of the things too with the draw is out. We'll get to some of the big storylines leading into, and then ultimately the first round matchups. But something that I saw that's interesting, unfortunately the match wasn't completed today, but Maia Joint, Isla Tomljanovic. Joint wins the first set. Isla unfortunately retires from the match, but they're actually playing in the first round at Roland Garros too. So it made me think, like, did that ever happen, or can you remember any time in your career, maybe major or not, where you or someone else, like, you play someone you're going to play again, like the very next week, you already know before the first match?
I don't think that ever happened to me where I already knew. And overall, it's rare that it happens that way, but it did happen to me back-to-back first rounds Roland Garros Wimbledon one year, where I played Perankova in the first round of Roland Garros and then right away in the first round of Wimbledon. So that was kind of crazy. But and then there are years that you tend to play the same players over and over again. Like sometimes I played this like one player like 10 times in one year, which is crazy. But
that's insane.
That's a rarity, but it can happen, obviously.
Yeah, I just remember, was it last year or 2 years? It was last year where Andreescu kept losing to Paolini, and at the net, the U.S. Open's like, I'm so sick of you. Like, tongue in cheek, but also some truth to that. Everybody's been losing. A lot of people have been losing to Paolini. But as we gear up for as we gear up for Roland Garros, I did want to mention this week because the week before, and I said earlier this week when I had Ted Robinson on the show, Jill, that it seems, and I could be wrong, but it seems like there's more better. I mean, there's a 500, but there's a lot of top players playing. Like there's a lot of players that are playing this week, maybe more than normal. A lot of it is trying to find your form, but sometimes, Jill, you see it with Djokovic, reps is what you need at this time of year. If you don't get your prep, or if you don't study for the test, you got to cram that week before. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think a lot of it, either you haven't played that much this year, or you're coming off maybe some injury, or you haven't had the year that you've wanted to, or you just want extra matches because players know how crucial those extra matches are leading into a slam. It's very personal and it's based a lot on how you're feeling. If you feel like you need a little bit of a break before a slam, because a slam is definitely stressful. Um, and so some players really like to have that week before where it's all about preparation. But as we're seeing, there's a lot of players. I'm sure we'll get to a few. You have a couple in mind that you want to focus on that
Mhm,
maybe feel like they need more of the reps and they really want to
mhm.
get those matches under the belt to build that confidence leading into Roland Garros.
Yeah, before we get to the biggest name, we mentioned her before we started, but Beatriz Haddad Maia, who had been really struggling this year, given where she was and what she did. I mean, it wasn't too long ago where she pushed Iga Swiatek at Roland Garros as much as anyone. A very powerful player. She's looked for the first time really good this year, going on a run in Strasbourg. And then the other name that I had on the men's side was Felix Auger-Aliassime, because in Hamburg, he's kind of, switched his game around again. We'll see how it goes. It's not so much, Jill, about winning the title, but it's about the fact that you kind of get on the right foot ahead of a major and really try to build on something, because I think that's, tennis is a process. It's not just one tournament, it's the whole year.
Exactly. And you have to manage that whole year to the best of your ability. And the two names you mentioned, Haddad Maya and Felix, like they're experienced enough and mature enough to know that even if they win the title, how they're able to manage, bouncing back within a day or whatever it is. They know how to do that. Haddad Maya, as you mentioned, maybe didn't have the start to the year that she would have liked. I watched a lot of her matches in the beginning of the year from the United Cup all the way through. And you could see it in her. Maybe she wasn't feeling as confident as she normally is, but she loves this surface on the clay. She feels at home on the clay, so that'll bring some confidence. And obviously, the clay also the clay forces you to learn again how to build points, and maybe that's what she needed, right? Because she is an aggressive player, powerful player, likes to go after it, but the clay forces you to kind of build points a little bit more, and maybe this is the stage that she needed that. And Felix, I mean, he's such a hard worker, very meticulous, always looking to grow and get better. And there's no doubt he was going to start stringing together more matches as well, and he has.
Yeah, patience, right? That's the biggest virtue in clay court tennis
Yeah,
is it doesn't
exactly.
end as quickly. Yeah, so
Yeah.
got to learn that. And yeah, the other name too, Jill, Novak Djokovic. We'll get to his draw and where he landed at Roland Garros, but first time since Miami, one of the few times all year, he finally looks comfortable. He's into the semifinals. He is going for title 100, which would be another feather in his cap. But we all know that the goal is one more Grand Slam if he can do it. First time all year that I've seen him really comfortable on the clay, but also I appreciated the fire that I saw. He was looking intense. He was looking
Yeah.
over at his box. That's the guy that wins championships.
Yeah. And, he, since Miami, maybe he needed that time, right? I
Hmm.
mean, none of us need to know to tell him what to do. He knows exactly,
Yeah.
exactly what to do. But he maybe need that time just to step back, step away. I remember a couple of losses he had earlier on. He was mentioning, I think my form was not quite there. And if that's the case, you also don't want to go out and push. I mean, sometimes there's a case to push through that,
Hmm.
but he's obviously well aware enough to know, okay, he needed to step back at that moment. And I agree. I think he's looking great.
Yeah, there was a few times when he's, in the earlier clay court matches, what we saw him look unsure on his feet, a little light on his toes, which is rare to say for him. But yeah, he looks good, and it's leading up to another storyline for Roland Garros as we look at the draw. And we're not going to do a traditional draw show where we break down all the matches. I wanted to give an overview, look at some good first round matches and the paths from some of these contenders. And we're going to start, Jill, with the defending champ on the women's side, who's the 5 seed. Couldn't believe that
Hmm.
number when I saw it. But
I
Iga,
know.
Iga Swiatek not coming in good form, to say the least, but this is her comfort zone. And this is an area where I think, much like Rafa, to a lesser extent, obviously, if anyone can turn it around, it would be her, given what she's done, given her comfort level here. We can get to the draw and how she, didn't end up in the worst section, to say the least. But as we start to see her progress and hopefully make a run for her case, what are the signs you're looking at for Iga that she's back on the right track?
I think the first couple of rounds are going to be big for her. And I'm just looking at her section. I know you probably want to pinpoint a couple things, but this is where I think a lot of it for her is mental here. She knows she can perform here, four-time Grand Slam champion here at Roland Garros. So obviously there's a lot of in the minds of the other players that a lot think that she's the one to beat here, even though she's not the top seed, because of how well she performs here. So I think I know her not getting the gold medal last year. I think that was a little bit heartbreaking for her here on in the Paris clay. So it'll be interesting to see if, she has memories of that coming back, because that was the last time she was here. But I think she's going to be ready to go. I know maybe she doesn't have a title this year yet. That's something that might be in the back of her mind, but she's so mentally strong that I do feel like she's one of the top ones still to be here.
Yeah, it's crazy she hasn't made a final since RG last year, which is another stat that blows a lot of people's minds. But I like the fact, and I think, the matchup round 2, if it ends up this way, Emma Raducanu, which could be,
Right.
an interesting one. I don't know where you fall in this school of thought. I would think that it's nice to have a little test, I'd say, earlier, because you have to kind of lock in. And you could talk about other matchups, but I think for Iga, Emma is a very quality player. The match against Collins this week was kind of crazy in Strasbourg, but the way she plays, how clean she strikes the ball, the type of players that have been giving Iga trouble recently have just been crushing her second serve and really putting her on her heels. So I think that the Emma test could be one where she passes that, she gets back to her form. It could be the best thing for her in a way.
It could be, yeah, and that would be in the second round, but she has to get through Sharmkrova first. Emma has to get through Wang Jinyu first. But this section, you're right. This section that Iga is in, there are some players in there that do cause trouble for Iga. I mean, Ostapenko is in there.
There she is, yeah.
She's never beaten Ostapenko. Rybakina is in there. Of course, Rybakina has one of the toughest draws, playing Bencic first round. But those hard-hitting players, the ones that can power through Iga, the ones that give her problems, and they're all in her little mini section there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I hate to be the one to break news for it. We just got word that Bencic withdrew, so she won't be playing Rybakina.
Oh, okay.
No, I found out about 5 minutes before we came on too. So
okay. So
that was one I was looking for. Yeah, we got a qualifier in. Looking at it right now, but Rybakina's one, right? If she can, she's someone that's had success on clay, beat Iga on clay. Can she get to that fourth round matchup? But yeah, if not, it would be Ostapenko, and we know how that matchup has gone. And really, it's that matchup. If we get it again, and I don't know that Iga would want that, obviously, but it shows you how confidence is so crucial in this sport, right? Even before Iga had her struggles, everybody, rightfully so, had a level of fear against Iga on clay, except Jelena Ostapenko. And that's the funniest thing is, like, will she get here? Will she get out of the first round? I don't know. But if she gets to Iga, a lot of people are going to believe, based on history, she's going to win again.
Against Iga.
Yeah, but she could easily lose in the first round. That's like the beauty of the sport. And
I know. It's crazy. Exactly. That's why we play the matches. But Ostapenko also is the type that, she's not going to get intimidated. And then when you have a winning record against Iga, even more so, you're going to walk out there with that little extra confidence, a little extra pep in your step. And Ostapenko has it already, but yeah, that section, that's a tough section.
Because Jill, I actually think, I don't want to gloss over her. That could be a very dangerous match. But Marta Kostyuk, round 3 against Iga.
Exactly. Yeah.
Marta has played very well. She just keeps running into Aryna Sabalenka, who's the best player in the world by a margin right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's one where you talk about old Iga or what we've seen recently. The Iga that's won championships here, Jill, I think is safe to say, could just wear a player like Kostyuk down. Is just going to cause her to overhit, make errors. The patience, the rally tolerance, that's going to be there. But if Iga's a little off, and that's, I heard Paul Anakin say it once, when the top player's off, you have your chance. If you go bold and you make the shots. Kostyuk is, I think, a sleeper to not just win that match, but maybe make a deep run.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I don't know what their head-to-head is off the top of my head, but Kostyuk is playing the best tennis that she's played in her career, probably, and she's ready to go. I commentated a couple of her matches in Madrid. She played with so much confidence, and this is why, I mean, I know we love to speculate, we like to see like
Yeah.
potential matchups, but I'm the type that honestly, I don't love looking ahead that much because there are
Yeah.
so many tough players. Like the depth is just ridiculous on both the women and the men. And first rounds are tough, right? Like there's nerves after you get that first round under your belt. You do tend to settle a little bit. So those first rounds is a good opportunity for some upsets, for some people that have been playing exceptionally well to get that big win and to continue forward. And I agree, Kostyuk's one of those that can do that.
Well, one being, I agree. One being, former tennis player who probably didn't even look at the draw. That's your school of thought too. There. The other thing too is you're right. Like we'd be talking.
I used to, but
Oh.
I quickly let that go because that did not work out well for me.
Well, yeah, it's the same way as like putting this show together. We can talk about all these matches that don't happen. That's like great. We just spend a bunch of time on matches that don't happen. So that's why it's great. The sport can produce upsets. But now, having said that, it sounds like I'm going to go against what I just said. But I do think if you look at the overview of the draw, Coco
Okay.
Gauff's in a very good spot. I think Coco's spot is nice for her. She's played some pretty good tennis. I know there's no such thing as an easy draw, but if you
Yeah.
look at her path potentially, I think she's in a good spot to really do some damage. Some of the heavy hitters that have given her trouble are on the top of the draw. And the way she's looked, I know it didn't go her way against Paolini in the Rome final, but she got back on track. She thumped Iga. She won a grueling match against Qinwen Zheng. I think Coco's in a spot to really make her move here.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't. She's definitely one that can go far. I mean, look at what she's done on the clay so far in Madrid and Rome, we just mentioned. Um, if we want to if we want to look ahead, a potential third
Yeah.
round could be Kalinskaya. I mean, Kalinskaya, I feel like has the capability to beat anyone. She has numerous top 10 wins under her belt. I know she just
Mhm.
retired in the previous tournament, but she has time to whatever, if something's bothering her. I think she has time. She's smart enough to know what to do. So I think that's tough. I mean, also, it's first of all, it's good to see Krejcikova back. She's in that part of this section. It's going to be
Yeah.
only her second tournament, but she's won this tournament before,
Mhm.
so you can't rule her out.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's and Haddad Maia, who we mentioned, is there. Emma Navarro is there. I don't know. She has the potential to go far, Goff, but again, there are some potential upsets I think could happen too.
There's Yeah, there certainly are. And the Americans that could maybe meet her if we get to a quarterfinal matchup, the higher seeds, Keys and
Yeah.
Navarro. Keys coming off of that breakthrough win. I know there's been a little bit of a letdown. It's understandable given what she accomplished in Australia, but she is a semifinalist here before.
Yeah.
Navarro's one too, where it hasn't been her best. There's been, losses to players ranked lower than her. But I do think, and we talked about her before, Jill, she's young enough to where she's still developing, still improving. And I think her fitness is going to serve her well. You talk about patience and having to learn how to construct points. I think as an athlete, she's at the top of the WTA list. And I think that given the opportunity she has, it wouldn't shock me if she just turned it on at a tournament like this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we another aspect we have to remember about Navarro is, last year really was where she just rose so fast, right? So you could consider almost that her first full WTA tour year. And so any tournament she was playing and gaining points, she saw her ranking going up. And so the
Mm.
second year is always interesting to me where you have to defend all those points that you've accumulated. And that's tough. That's an extra pressure. There's some more tension, there's some more stress. And so when she started in Australia, she did well, but all her matches were really tight. But that was very telling to me. She gutted through them, and I felt like that was going to help her because she had a lot of points to defend, and she still does. So I think that second year is always hard. And I think you're right. It's about building. She's growing. She's got a great support team around her. So I think she can do very well on this surface. She's a good mover, and that's huge on clay.
Certainly is. We got more with Jill Craybas here on the Inside In Tennis podcast, talking Roland Garros 2025. Draw is out. Action starts on Sunday. On the women's side, still, you have Aryna Sabalenka, the bona fide number one player in the world. Number one seed, looking for her first Roland Garros title, an opportunity to do so as the betting favorite. looking at her path, and again, she's been just the most consistent player in majors for even before she was number one, Jill. She'd been going deep in
Yeah.
draws, but she knows how to. So point being, she knows how to handle them. But looking at what could happen along the way, you could see Anisimova, who's given her problems in the past, Towson, who has a win over her, one of those maybe in round 4. She's the number one seed for a reason, but yeah, we were talking about that. There's no gimmies here. I think her game of all the games in women's sports, I know it's without saying, of all the games in women's tennis, Jill, it translates across all surfaces. The way she hits the ball, I think clay, grass, hard court is still going to be effective.
I think, yeah, it's amazing how well she strikes the ball, how hard she hits the ball. I think I read, and I think I'm right, that this is the first time she's been seeded number one here. Is that correct? I think at Roland Garros.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
So I don't think that'll affect her. I mean, now she's used to having that top spot. I think, yeah, I think what I like about Sabalenka, I think she's one of the hardest hitting ones out there, and that's how she can continuously beat opponents. But I love that she's constantly just adding things to her game. During Madrid, she even threw in a couple of serve and volleys, and she's very comfortable at the net. She's throwing in drop shots. She's using more variety, which is you're going to throw her opponents off even more because they're expecting that hard hitting. So she's getting capable of everything, which I think is an awesome testament to her because she's just absolutely trying to improve. She knows she can't kind of take her foot off the gas. And I think she's the favorite here. So I think she's the one to beat. And you're right. I mean, all these players have a difficult path. Everyone is
yeah,
good. I mean, you have the unseeded Collins in there too, in her little small
yeah.
section. Right. I mean, you mentioned Towson and Anisimova, who are the seed. Schneider's a seed there. But Collins is kind of a floater.
hmm
Yeah, so it's going to be, yeah, it'll be interesting.
I kind of think, yeah, I'm looking. I mentioned those players, obviously, Collins in the mix. Like you have to be able to hit with her. I think unless you're
Yeah.
like Iga or Coco Gauff at their peak, which is otherworldly, you've got to be able to hit with her at least, kind of weather some of that power. Could be. We'll see. I mean, the other name to look at too, near the top of the leaderboard of favorites, is Mirra Andreeva, and this has been
Yeah.
the biggest mover of the last couple of years. Obviously, Jasmine Paolini's on that list, but in terms of making your pro debut and rising up the ranks, it's been Mirra Andreeva. She's another player that maybe what you were just saying about Emma Navarro to a different extent, right? She comes on the scene, she wins a couple thousand events. The last couple weeks, it's been a different role for her, right? The favorite, someone
Mhm.
people are counting on. It's a lot to handle for anyone, let alone an
Yeah.
18-year-old. So I think that's the adjustment we're seeing.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think she's had such a good 4 or 5 months. It's been incredible. And she's got a great coach in her corner, Conchita Martinez, who, if you're dealing with that, knows exactly what to tell Mira in the situation to know how to deal with like all these expectations that are all of a sudden thrown on your shoulders. I think Mira's always had that deep belief that she can win big tournaments and big titles. So I think it was always there before it happened this year, back to back. Um, but yeah, it's about this is always going to be a tennis player's path is you're going to have these challenges or different emotions that come up, different things you're going to have to deal with, and it's constantly a learning process. And now it was transitioning Mirror from the hard to the clay and being able to adjust to that with all that success she had on the hard court. So I mean, for someone so young, she adapts so well to different circumstances, and that's a huge asset.
She's on the list where if she wins, it wouldn't be shocking, right? Like it's not, she's got the game. She's beat notch top. Like I agree with you. Like Sabalenka's the favorite. Coco's right near the top of the list. Iga can figure it out because she's won here 4 times. Andreeva, I mean, anybody else on your list where if they won, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world?
That it would not be the most shocking.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, like the short list.
I mean, I think Goff, and I think
hmm
that wouldn't be shocking. I mean, she's number two, but I mean, if we're
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
because I don't get caught up in the numbers so much because I think there's so many.
right.
I don't think
hmm
Keys would be that shocking. Um, let me see. I think Muhova, if
Paulini?
she's
Oh,
probably,
Muhova. Yeah.
I mean, she's gotten to the finals here before. I love her game.
hmm
It's for Muhova. It's about, if she stays healthy. And are you saying Paolini would be a shock or would not be a shock?
No, I think she'd have to be on that list too, given how she's played on clay and how she's
Yeah.
performed,
Yes.
recently even. So
Yeah. And finals
the
here.
other,
Here. Yeah.
The other name that I don't think would be shocking would be Qinwen, because I
Yeah.
think that, the last time she played here, won the gold medal.
Yeah.
I think
You're
there's
right.
real confidence to her. She's
Yeah.
tough. She's tough. So those are the names I'm looking at. We'll see, right? Because we know they're not all even going to be there by the quarterfinals. So we'll have some upsets and we'll have some drama.
This is
But
why
before
we
we go
have
to the,
trouble predicting.
it is. It's the worst.
Yeah.
But I will say before we get to the men's side, some great first round matches and some great opportunities for players early. I mean, the one everyone's been talking about, at least in America, Jill, has been Naomi Osaka, Paula Badosa.
Yeah.
Osaka, Badosa, first round, epic. And again, I hate to do this. Looking at the path, the winner of this match, I think is bombed for maybe the quarterfinals. It's not that shocking to say. I think there's a real opportunity in this section. I think it's hit the ground running, and I think these two ball strikers are going to put on the show.
So you feel like one of those could get to the quarterfinals?
I do.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'm looking at the draw now. Yeah, and that
Because
then they would
Naomi's
face.
actually, yeah, Naomi's actually embracing clay, which has been good, right? Like
I
she's someone
know.
that's,
Yeah. She said, I mean, she just won the 125. Yeah, and she said, I never thought I'd win on this surface. She's like, maybe I like it
yeah,
more than I thought I did. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Paula
that,
said,
that's gonna be a battle because the clay
uh,
is obviously more natural to Paula.
she said she's not going anywhere either. Paul's like, I'm back. You can't get rid of me. I'm ready
Yeah,
to
I love
win.
her
It's
game. Yeah.
also shout out to Peyton Stearns, right? What she's been able to do.
Yes.
She's now seeded, 3-7-6 wins in a row. I know
Yeah.
you're a big fan as well of her. And I actually haven't gotten the chance to chat with you since the emergence of a fellow Gator, McCartney Kessler. I just
Yeah.
know that's somebody that you've probably been following along. And,
I
I
went to
talked to her.
Texas
Yeah.
too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
You did go to Texas. I
So
just,
I've got
the
so I've
Gator
got
accolades.
so I've got
So
Peyton and Kessler.
okay, split household. But yeah, Kessler, wow. I mean, it's a good time to be, coming in from the college tennis ranks or having success. But yeah, they could meet early too. So could see two college players that near and
Yeah.
dear facing off.
Yeah. I love seeing the
So
college players do well.
before we go to the men's side, anything else we forgot to mention on the women's side? Muhova was a good one as maybe a sleeper lurking. Is there anybody else that we kind of forgot to give shine to? We didn't say Jessie Pegula. Maybe she can, turn things around a little
Yeah,
bit.
and yeah, I mean, also like you never know, Donna Vekic could come out and just hit people off the court as well. She had a great run here last year. This is where she kind of built her confidence back up. So, I mean, you never know like what people are going to come and what form they're going to, feel when they're coming into this event. And there's always surprises at slams. I mean, that it always happens. There's always upsets or shocks or so. And I think for me, that's like one of the exciting things and is what are those big storylines going to be?
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Diana Schneider is the other name I wanted to mention.
I
I think she
know.
can do
There's
well.
so many.
She's so many. Men's side, I think, as we transition there's still a lot of great players, but it's always, to me, at least in the modern game, going to be difficult to open up the contender list as deep on the women's side. Not because the depth's not there, Jill, but 3 out of 5 mastering that format is going to be a different test entirely. It starts with Carlos Alcaraz and what he's done. There was, the defending champ. There was maybe some doubts about his health, but what we saw in Rome and what we're seeing as these tournaments progress is that when he's on, especially on this surface, but let alone all surfaces, this guy's got the juice and he's tough to beat. So I think it has to, all men's conversations in 2025 have to start with Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, I think, I think everyone across the board will say how much they love his game. I mean, he's just got everything from such a young age. He can do everything. And he started that when he was very little. I mean, he was kind of experimenting and playing around with different shots, different tools. And he just loves it. I mean, he just always looks like he's having so much fun, even if he loses a point. And you've seen
Yeah, I
so many
know.
of these guys, so many of these other guys saying like they're starting to smile just because of watching Carlos and how much, that has a positive impact on his game. And I think that Rome final was big. I mean, Sinner obviously just came back after 3 months. It's incredible. He got to the final. And then Carlos winning that's gotta make him feel really good. I agree with you. I think the depth is 100% there on the men. I think there's still a lot of opportunities where there could be some upsets, some unseeded players that are lurking in between all the seeds
Yeah.
that could potentially be problems for some of the seeds. The 3 out of 5 is a factor, especially on the clay. It's probably the most grueling because it's just
Uh-huh.
longer and it's so much more physical. So a lot of it is going to be, that physicality that's going to be important.
You mentioned unseeded players. I have to say, biasly, I'm a little worried for some of these Americans against these Italians. Those were the
Okay.
matchups I saw seeded. Ben
Okay, I'm
Shelton, Drew
looking.
Lorenzo. Ben Shelton, Drew
Oh,
Lorenzo,
yes.
Sonego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tough. And then the other one was what's it? Corda versus Darderi. Those were two that
Yeah.
stood out to me where I'm like, this could be challenging. But yeah, I just think going the distance is maybe the issue. And like because I'm fans of, like, obviously Ben Shelton's game. There's a lot to like, but he hasn't had the results on clay. And you talk about maybe it is learning how to construct points, learning to have patience. You live this, right? When you play players that grew up on this surface that are so at home, even if you beat them kind of bad on a hard quarter grass, you come here, it's different, right? And they have the comfort that they don't have. So Sonego is tough. He beat Fonseca, like he can handle rowdy crowds. Like that's one that I think is a tough one.
I think that's a very tough one. And in those two matches, you brought up the Corda and Darderi as well. I think you were spot on by saying it's more the surface that has like a different impact in how you think the result is gonna go. Sonego, I think has beaten him. I think he's beaten Shelton on clay. And and he likes the big stage too, right? You're right,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna feed off that. Nothing's gonna affect him, and he's gonna be up for that match. And then yeah, it's just I think the Americans have definitely over the course of the last few years gotten better on this surface, for sure. I think out of the Americans, the one I think probably moves the best is probably Tommy Paul,
Mm-hmm.
on the clay. But every year I feel like they've gotten better. So we'll see how someone like Shelton responds from last year, or if he's made some adjustments.
It is interesting, right? Taylor Fritz moved up to number 4 in the world, so he has his own like section of the draw. But he hasn't been playing his best, just losing to Hubie Hurkacz yesterday as we record this. But there's an opportunity for him there. Frances Tiafoe's in that same section.
I know.
So realistic chance that an American can make that run, get at least to the quarterfinals, and we'll see what can happen. Um, those are two players that have been around. They've been experienced. They played in countless slams. Can they
Mhm.
find their best game? Can they peak at the right time? But yeah, Tommy Paul is the best in form on this surface. I think that's very safe to say. He winded up in the Casper Ruud section.
Mm.
That's a tough one for fans of the game, right? Because everybody likes both those guys. Like they're just popular guys in the locker room and outside of it.
Yeah, it is. And Casper Ruud's one that's playing a lot better as well. Just won Madrid, and
Yeah.
tough one again. I mean, he beat Draper in the final, who's been on fire as well. Um, but this is our discussion all the time, Mitch, right? Like there's so many ifs and what ifs because there's so many
It's
players that can do
it's a
well.
fascinating discussion when you bring up Casper because if we're talking contender lists, everyone knows like Alcaraz, Sinner. If Djokovic figures it out, Zverev's been in poor form, but he's been to major finals.
Yeah.
You talk about the potential guys like Musetti and Draper, they played well. Casper's an interesting case study because consistency on clay, even in best of 5, he's got the results. But
Yes.
can he go all the way? Can he beat a top player in a final is a fair debate to have. So when I look at Casper, I don't know, and as someone that's lived it and seen it, that's the one where I'm the most maybe interested and curious about.
As far because I think he has the game and the physicality, you're right. So you're thinking
Mhm.
mentally, if he feels like he
Well,
believes he can
yeah,
get through.
it's also a debate. That's true, but it's also not, and to be fair, it's also a debate of potential versus results, right? Like Casper's here, he's proven here. We have other guys that are here, but maybe we use that dreaded word ceiling a lot. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Draper, and they can maybe hit a higher level, but they haven't yet. They might be able to. So
Yeah.
I think we wonder if it is Casper's bet. Is he getting the most out of his game now, which is unbelievably awesome, but maybe
Right.
not a slam level? Or is there a level? That's the best way to put it. I could say, is there another level to go? Can he reach a higher level and actually win a Grand Slam?
I think he can, and I think he's been working on it this year in particular. Because he's had matches that he feels like have been difficult to find a way. Like in Australia, I think it was against Menchik, I think, if I'm getting that right. And then obviously in
Hmm.
Rome, he just played Sinner, where he just felt like he was completely outplayed. Um, but but his comment is what's interesting. His comment was like, okay, I need to basically hit harder because Sinner, for example, was like hitting through him. I think he felt like Mensik was hitting through him. And I saw him kind of adapt from that Australian Open to try and he played well. He played Dallas, played Bell. I saw differences in him. Granted, that was a hard court. Clay is where he performs the best because of his high, heavy forehand. So the short answer is yes, I think he can. If he continues to have that mentality of being like, okay, this, like, I need to get out of my comfort zone even more, if that makes sense.
Well, I hope he can, because obviously rooting for. No, it totally does. I think it's interesting, right? We never know. There's players that get to this level and never get to the top. There's some that break through even later. So I hope he can. It's a fascinating storyline. The other one too, Jill, is I want to know what the reaction is going to be like for Jannik Sinner's first match, because he had that hero's welcome in Rome. Everything was great.
Yeah.
First round RG, Arthur Rinderknecht, French player. We know the drama with Sinner. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I mean, the crowd is definitely going to be behind the Frenchman, I would assume. But Sinner has fans everywhere, even outside of Rome. So I think, it'll be interesting to see how the crowd reacts. I feel like nothing really phases Sinner. One, he doesn't really, well, having said that, he usually doesn't show much emotion. He's been pretty calm, but I have to say, as I've been watching him with his coming back in Rome, I mean, it's the most I've seen him like smile and laugh and have fun and kind of joke around, like, outwardly in public. I think he does that behind the scenes, but more outwardly in public. And maybe it's just like so happy to be back after the few months away. So I think and he looks stronger to me, like physically, he looks stronger. So he put in the work, I think, on that time off. So, but that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I had a comment on that. It was with Musetti and Sinner. I think the moral of the story is start off really skinny, so that way when you gain weight, it's like, wow, this guy's gotten a lot bigger. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
No, they have stronger.
Stronger. No, they have looked stronger, and I think Rinderknecht inviting French fans to be there. He's trying to get his group together to support him. So Carrots and Rinderknecht's French fans, it could be a lot of fun. Yeah. Sinner is obviously his game translates on all surfaces, but looking at the data, Jill, he hadn't played as many matches on clay as you think. He's been injured a little bit. He last year skipped Rome, so there wasn't, the sample size was kind of sick or injured in Madrid. So as good as Sinner is on all surfaces in clay, he doesn't have the match reps. That's the one thing to kind of consider. We'll see if his fitness level is back up in terms of playing best of 5 matches, because as we were saying, right, as good as Sinner is, and he wasn't injured during this time away, but nothing replicates matches, and the grueling pressure of a best of 5 men's pro match is tough even for a player like Sinner.
Yeah, so the difference from Rome to the French is the 3 out of 5. I think Rome was a very good test. I was curious to see how Sinner would come back. He proved he was physically fine. I was surprised just recently he came out and said, yeah, clay is not my favorite surface. Or out of all the surfaces, clay is my least favorite. And I was shocked when he said that. I was like, wow. Because he's like, yeah, it was the one I grew up on. I was like, but he said he's still trying to find, the form and how to adapt on the clay. But that's crazy to me that he thinks that, because I always thought he moved well, was phenomenal on the clay. But that just shows you that, perfectionist mentality that he has, and just every little thing wants to get better. I like I said, I think he looks physically stronger, so I'm anticipating he'll be fine to handle the 2-week 3 out of 5.
We got a couple more things here with Jill Craybas on the Inside In Tennis podcast, all the way from Roland Garros. She's on site of the year's second major, only a couple days away. Got to talk about him. We mentioned him earlier, but Novak Djokovic, not in his own section, lower down in the draw, the 5 seed, but still, Jill has 24 majors, looking better this week. Section of the draw would be the Zverev quarter, which I think, given Zverev's form, isn't a bad section to have on the center half of the draw. He's somebody else, right? If you're going to give the benefit of the doubt to anyone, it's going to be these all-time greats. It's that heart of a champion. So having said all that, looking at where he is now, just celebrated his 38th birthday, what chances are you giving Djokovic to make a run, go deep, and ultimately maybe go all the way?
I mean, I think very, very good. I mean, you have to say very good, right? He's considered by many people one of the best of all time. So, but looking at it, Mackie McDonald is his first round matchup. That is not easy. Mackie can beat the top. He's proven it. he is not going to be intimidated, I don't think, by him. He's very quick, one of the best movers. I would have to see. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure clay is not his favorite, but I think he would still move very well on the clay. So he's going to be up for that match. I don't think that's an easy first match for Novak. I think that's very difficult. Then you have like Shapovalov's in there, but even in the second round, Mute, I mean, he's tricky. He plays a qualifier. That would be that if he gets through that. I mean, he's tricky because he can really mess up your rhythm with the way he plays.
How about Djokovic Medvedev potentially round 4?
Yeah, exactly.
Hard to believe.
Then you have
hard to believe that's
Wawrinka's in there too, non-seeded sleeper veteran who's won this tournament before. I mean, I know he's not in the form that he was.
I know,
but still. But Medvedev plays Nori first round. I mean, it's ridiculous, these matchups. It's tough.
I think for Djokovic, it's getting into a rhythm, right? As you said, easing the tension, getting that first round win, finding your way into the form and into the format that he knows how to navigate. It's weird, right? Because the battle is on the court, but it's also managing so much off of it. It's new waters and it's a new terrain. But if anyone's been able to navigate these waters, it's him, because he's done it 24 times. He can count to 7 better than anyone in tennis history.
Yeah, exactly. You got that right. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I mean, we're talking about matchups, strategies, playing styles on the court, but you're right. A lot of it is trying to manage your body, manage your sleep, manage your recovery. Off court recovery is huge for these 3 out of 5 set matches, and out of everyone, probably Novak knows how to do that the best. Yes, in the draw.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because Zverev, right? He starts with Werner Tien. You know, it's not the best path for him. A lot of points to defend, hasn't been going well. Werner beat him the last time in Acapulco, but there's potentially, a blockbuster third round, whether it's Felix or whether it's one of the Italians, Cabelli or Rinaldi. Like, there's tough challenges along the way. And I'll give Zverev, a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like, maybe looking ahead this week, he's been solid, but he hasn't hit the ceilings he's hit before. He is going to have to play better and elevate his game to even get to the Djokovic matchup, because you mentioned the depth, you mentioned the players there. Confidence is a tough thing, but Zverev's going to have to find some of it if he wants to go far in Roland Garros.
Yeah, I think the important thing for Zverev is to, not doing what we're doing is looking ahead. I think he knows how tough Tien is. He's lost to him. He knows that's going to be a tough match. Going back to what you said earlier, sometimes those first round challenges, if you can get through it, prove beneficial because it makes you stronger knowing that you've toughened out that first round. So that could be a good situation for him. I think it's going to be about his mentality, his approach when he comes in to this event. I mean, I still think he's playing really well. I mean, maybe he doesn't, he wants that Grand Slam title. And I think that's in the back of his mind. And he's had chances. He's been there numerous times. So for him, I think it's more mentally trying to get that off his shoulders a little bit and kind of play freely and in the moment.
Yeah. And I also think not being the top seed or, having Sinner being out, being the top guy, all eyes on you, maybe mess with him a little bit. I think he does his best work under the radar, and that's kind of where he is right now.
We did ask him about, but we did ask him about that, but he was like, no, I feel good, but you never know if, you know what I mean? If you're really feeling that deep down, who knows? I don't know.
Well, before we go, other interesting matchups, Jill. You have round 1, Hubie Hurkacz, João Fonseca. Round 1.
Oh my gosh.
Fonseca's going to be in the final in Geneva, and then he has to play, or Hurkacz in the final in Geneva goes right to playing Fonseca. So that's going to be something. Get ready for the Brazilian takeover.
I know.
Get ready. I don't know if were you ever calling those matches where it was have you ever called the Fonseca match or been around when all the Brazilian fans just take over the stands?
Yeah, it's awesome. It is so fun. Yeah, I saw the Australian Open one where he beat Rublev. I mean, it's a joke. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how all these people heard about him so quickly, because it wasn't like something that just happened recently. They've been following him for a long time already. But for someone so young, he's got such a good demeanor, seems so well grounded. I know a lot of the other guys are like, he's they're super high on him, and how could you not be? I mean, he's an awesome player. That's going to be tough, but you're going to have like the Brazilian fans, and you're going to have like sort of the calm, more demeanor of her catch. So it's going to be an interesting
Yeah, yeah.
contrast. Yeah.
A few things that I hope to see or would be great to see. One being, we haven't talked about him, but Lorenzo Musetti, who's been playing a great level. I think he's
Yeah.
got an opportunity to not just win a couple matches, but maybe go as far as the semifinal. I'd love to see a fourth round match between him and Holger Rune. I think that would just be box office entertainment if
Yeah.
Holger, who's been a little bit of a roller coaster, can play his best, because I think he's right there level wise. And I'd like to see Stefanos Tsitsipas kind of regain some form.
Yes.
He's in the
Yeah.
Alcaraz section, so it's tough, but he's had success at this tournament. So I think he can continue to get back on the right foot here as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning all these names. I think that all of them could go deep. And you just brought to my attention something I think that's important to reiterate is the fact that, the calendar year is so long, and your goal
Hmm.
is to peak at the higher events, the big tournaments, the slams, of course. So there's going to be roller coasters for everybody. I think it's one of the most difficult things is to keep that intensity and that focus every day, week in and week out. It's grueling to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why people try and manage so much to be able to peak at this moment. And it's difficult to find that balance. And it's also difficult to bounce back if you don't feel like you've played well the week before. But so there's so many things mentally to manage. And that's why I think these slams are so exciting, that you see upsets, because you never know who's going to feel, that much better.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting, but it's worth reiterating how tough it is to be able to bring that
Yeah.
intensity all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you have peaks and valleys of a tennis season of your own life. And yeah, the Grand Slams are no different. I think that's a very good way to
Yeah.
put it. I did want to mention too, just if we're going to put the American bias on one more time, you talked about the section that had Tiafoe and Fritz. Maybe they're not playing their best tennis. Maybe there's opportunities
Mhm.
there. Could we see maybe Alex Michelsen win a couple matches? And could we see Jensen Brooksby coming in on a protected ranking, who won Houston,
Yeah.
maybe win a few matches? So
Yeah,
those are
they're all
two
kind of
Americans I'd
around.
like to see play well, and they might be able to.
Yeah, I agree. And they're all kind of around the same section of the draw. Look, it goes back to the same thing. I mean, you could walk into a slam and you could feel like, I mean, I've had moments where I feel like I'm practicing so bad and I end up having the best tournament of my life, and vice versa. There are times where I've practiced the best in my life and I
Yeah.
have the worst results at a slam. So
Yeah.
again, it's about getting through that first round. Yes, I think
Yeah.
all the guys you just mentioned of the Americans have the potential to go deep. It's going to be about matchups. It's going to be about mentality. It's going to be about, sometimes grinding
Hmm.
it out and toughening out, especially on the clay. But I think all of them
Hmm.
have the potential to go deep. Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. Jill Craybas, Inside in Tennis podcast. I did want to, as we go out the door, say this is the last Roland Garros for players too. We saw Caroline Garcia announce that this is it for her today.
Yeah.
Richard Gasquet, last
Yeah.
tournament. Stan hasn't officially said anything, but if I had to guess, it'd be his last one. They gave him the wild card. So, it's a new beginning for young players. It's also closure for some veterans. So I would just want to give them thoughts. I know they're players that you've covered and gotten to know as well. So
Well, I played with them. I played
yeah.
doubles with Caro. Obviously played on this at the same time with Stan and Richard. I'm so glad you mentioned them, because I don't think we do that enough with the players when they're leaving, because
Hmm.
it's tough to come to that decision for some players. Some players it's easier,
Hmm.
but it has been your life.
Hmm.
And you're emotionally involved. You pour your whole heart and life into this sport that you love. And it's tough to walk away sometimes. So I'm glad you made the shout out to them.
Yeah, it's the circle of an athletic life. There's a great start, there's a finish, but there is my only advice, having not lived it. There's definitely light after the tunnel. Players have worked so hard. The players have worked so hard, like to set themselves up to achieve their dreams, and yet you're still so young. You have so much of your life left, and there's so
It is
much
cool. Yeah.
opportunity there. So,
Yeah. It is
Jill,
very
this was
cool.
fun. Jill, this was a blast. Really appreciate you making time to come on the Inside in Tennis podcast. Enjoy Paris. I know you're going to get some nice food and maybe some nice, some nice espressos or whatever, but the tennis is going to be great. So I didn't say croissants either because I'm not sure, but no, honestly, Jill, this is a blast. Every time you come on, it's a great podcast. So thanks for really taking time and coming on the show.
My pleasure, Mitch. Happy to join you.
That was Jill Craybas. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. If you like it, you can find it on every one of your podcast apps: Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon Music. Just subscribe to the show, download it, leave an automatic review, or leave a review, I should say. And if you download it, everything gets automatically uploaded to your device. So it's really going to be that simple. And follow along in the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals for some great exclusive content, as well as all video episodes of the show. So for Jill Craybas, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you in a few days. Enjoy the tennis, everyone.